This video is about deploying EKS cluster using infrastructure as code, CloudFormation, and Azure DevOps pipelines. So the first pipeline is Azure DevOps pipeline. It's going to deploy CloudFormation Stack, the EKS cluster, and then we're going to have an EKS cluster on AWS. The second pipeline is again Azure DevOps Pipeline is going to deploy CloudFormation template to create node groups within the cluster. And then we'll have a cluster with node groups. Now, both of those templates are usable. We can use them for as many clusters as we want, and we can create multiple node groups as we want using the same pipeline. So these are the two pipelines. And before we get started, let's see that we don't have any clusters here. And in the stacks are empty in CloudFormation. And that's what we're going to build. This two pipeline is going to build. Also, I'm using AWS hosted agent, which is this one. Okay, so let's get started. This is the first pipeline. I'm going to run this, and while it's running, I'm going to go over the pipeline. So this is going to start soon. Okay. So we're using the pool, this pool. We're using the specific agent, which is this one. This is the URL for the EKS cluster template. Okay, and here what we're going to do, this is what I chose. You can do it differently. If you want the AWS CLI, you can bake it into the hosted agent, and then you don't need to run this. But what I like to do is use ephemeral agents. So this is the configuration or the installation, both of AWS CLI. So here we're going to download the CLI and configure it. And we also can configure it unattended. So you don't need the approval. This is going to run by itself. Then we're going to deploy the stack using AWS CloudFormation deploy command. So as you can see here, everything is via variables. So it's not hard-coded. Okay, the only thing that hard-coded here are the agent, pool, and the output. And obviously the template file, which is, you can call it generic template file. But everything else is via variables, so we can change what we want. So for example, the access key ID, you can see here, the profile name is default because we're going to configure AWS configure. So I'm using default. Obviously you can use any profile you want. If you change this to something else from default, then you need to configure it, and it's already here. You can set the output in the region, so you can change also the default. Region you can also change. Access key, this is the name of the stack, and the subnets and the VPC ID. So as you can see here, everything here can be changed, and you can deploy multiple clusters. Okay, and if you don't change the stack name, it will update the cluster. So that's the difference. If you change the EKS cluster, you put your EKS cluster 1 or 2, then it will create a new one. But if it's you have already stack name EKS cluster, then it will update this cluster. Okay, so that's the difference. That's how you can use this template. As you basically use one file one template and you can reuse it over and over. Okay, so let's see what's going on with, okay, it's already in progress. And let's see if we have the cluster here. Yes, so it's creating. So this will probably take a few minutes. Okay, obviously you can update the version. This is the version using for this video. You can also update the version. You can update the cluster via the template. But this should be okay. It's going to take a few minutes and then we can continue with the second pipeline.